artists, and the same for Santa Fe and most of the art districts was us utilizing the space that hadn't been used. So also, I don't want people to think, oh, well, there wasn't anything there, so why not put something there? Yeah. There was a lot of stuff still going on in the space that was there. It wasn't all vacant and boarded up. And I think that it's important how people spend their dollars. That matters. Again, so I think that, people are just going to... Do you want to give your money to a big, to a conglomerate of rich guys? Or do you want to go help out some small business, some restaurants? I think there's a responsibility of us, of how we spend our money. And for me, I choose to support a lot of small restaurants. Denver's full of them. So I know this is saying leave RiNo, though. You're not going to find that there because, unfortunately, there's no space for that to occur. And that's a frightful thing because what if that idea development approaches everywhere else where there is small business now? You could go down on Morrison. Do you guys ever go hang out on Morrison?
On Morrison Street or out in the town of Morrison? No,
Morrison Road. That it kind of you take Alameda, go to Federal, take Alameda, and then Morrison cuts diagonal. And there's a little strip there.
And there's like a little marijuana shop right there with a nice big old gazebo.
There's also Kahlo's, which is a restaurant based on Frida Kahlo. There's the chocolate, the Mexican chocolate factory that's there. There's
Federal and Alameda's right there where it's about to get to like dim sums up on the left, or right there on the right behind the.
If you go back in those communities and you leave your dollar there, you're going to see how beneficial it'll be. Because hopefully instead of renting these restaurants, these people will be able to buy it, and the community can be built from within. And that's where you're going to go and experience real culture of Denver too. It's
La Calle and all that stuff off Alameda.
It's good to leave. It's good to leave your money with these businesses and help to support that. That's truly supporting the city. But at the same time, I enjoy going and having things that I would otherwise not be able to get, and I enjoy that as well. And I don't think people have to beat themselves up for enjoying what comes with the development, but I think consciousness about it. I think that the way that you speak about a community is important, and what you call it, because it starts to sound like a different language people are having full of code word, meaning we don't want the other people here. That's what it does start to sound like when you call it a different name, or when you do refer back to the community what it was. You say, oh, I heard it was rough. I heard it was this and that. That's a common thing that you hear when people talk about, oh, I heard the north side was bad, or I heard down on Larimer it was rough. It wasn't like any crazier than it is now. The crazy shit can happen to you wherever you're at.
South Jackson.
East Colfax.
I grew up in South Jackson.
Yeah,
You can go to South Jackson and get whatever you need, but at the same time, you may also get in trouble as well. That's everywhere, right?
There's plans for Colfax to develop Colfax.
Yeah, they're developing the shit out of it, like right around where we were living.
The interesting thing about Colfax, though, is that, like, you'll see something pop up, right? Like, you seen, like, I don't know, it was Snarfs or something, right? And all of a sudden, you see a different demographic of people start hanging out there. But if you give it long enough, those people just start to look like Colfax people. Like, Colfax kind of, like, is like, you can't beat Colfax. You can't. But
Lion's Lair is always going to prevail. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. I started filming a docuseries, and there's some episodes of it out there called The Cold Facts, where I was documenting and talking about cold facts.
I got to write that down.
And this is another part of like what I'm doing in terms of just using what I see in front of me and expressing it through my art in the most honest way, and celebrating the city or talking about where we could pay attention to certain things.
So do you feel like this piece that was whitewashed, like obviously you were trying to say something, and like, did you get some response from that, or like, was it just all of a sudden we're whitewashing this?
Well, I think whoever did it at night, so I don't think it was a very professional. Like, I don't think the decision was made at a some sort of committee. Made a decision about it.
Done in the cloak of night. I use the word. I think that's how you use the word cloak.
So. There was I didn't see it coming. It just happened, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised it didn't happen before. I'm not surprised it didn't happen to the last one.
Yeah. What did like, I mean, did did like some of your fellow friends, artists, or anything? Did they share any thoughts with you about it? Like, or
I got hundreds of messages and a lot of emails. People are not happy with it, and it makes me trip out because then I realize that my voice has become a voice for some of these people to express something to them. So they have personal feelings about it. They share them with me. And people were not happy with that because it's further a sign of these things that I'm talking about. By them painting over it, it just helped my point. I'm not mad about it. I think art is temperamental. I come from the graffiti background. It's like Tibetan sand sculpture. Let it happen. Just be in the moment and create it. I think the art is still happening.
Yeah.
Like the conversation is still, so the art's not. It had an impact.
I mean, but yeah, because I mean, isn't that kind of the purpose of art, to push boundaries? I mean, like if art doesn't push boundaries, then Well,
let's talk about being censored, man. There's a show called American Democracy at the Colorado History Museum right now, and one of my paintings was removed from it because of what I was speaking about. So, having a wall painted over in the neighborhood is one thing, but also having a museum take my painting out of the show. Isn't art, what you said, isn't art supposed to be this place where we can express ourselves? And it's always kind of been a bit off limits from all the other bureaucracy and bullshit and, let the artists be artists and do things. But I'll tell you what, people don't like it. They get scared.
Look at it and appreciate it. That's all you got to do. You don't have to fucking, I don't know.
Wait, so you mentioned earlier that you're surprised the first one didn't come down, which was the big old orange RiNo and the lady holding the bowling pin, or the rolling pin, in her front yard. Did the History Museum yank it recently after this became such a, I guess, the snowball started kind of going down the hill, or was this prior to what recently happened?
No, two things aren't even related. I was expressing something completely different there.
Oh, shit.
But that's what I'm saying, just the, how sensitive people are even.
Well, that one thing, and I feel like I did a little bit of reading, like you mentioned, we kind of shoot from the hip. Sometimes I do a little research. The lady from RiNo, or Tracy from RiNo Arts District, mentioned that it's a censorship-free situation with the Crush Art Wall, walls going on.
I think Tracy's a man.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so.
My bad. Tracy, sorry about that. He said that it was. I just read an article. I told you I did a little research, not a lot.
You didn't look at any pronouns, did
What's the pronoun?
Yeah.
So, anyways, he mentioned that it was. Tracy, the dude, mentioned that it was a censorship-free situation.
Yep.
So, how did things what hits the fan to the point where they have to do something in the cloak or cover of dark to hide what obviously is the truth?
Well, that's alleging that they did it, which,
excuse me, allegedly.
But I don't know, okay, so you guys should have read my application. I was talking shit since the application.
What did your application say?
I don't even remember, but I was making my same points within the application from the beginning, because I was like, well, they probably won't choose me. So I'm going to use this opportunity. Just to me, it's art, though. To me, these are art. They're like sometimes even performance pieces. But so I was, just like fucking with them from the beginning, and they approved it because there was a board of artists that chose, and I think these artists respected me. So I think that the artists helped to, provide the platform. But I have been a part of Crush from the beginning, before RiNo had anything to even do with it. So I don't think they can really censor me, and I don't think they wanted to piss me off either. I think I could be a headache for them, or that could have been, they could have seen that being problematic. So I'm like, cool. And then I'm like, this is what I'm going to paint. Once they say yes and they start saying, yes, we're not here to censor people, then I'm like, okay, well then let's push it. Then let's see if you are here to censor people or not. So let's have the conversation.
I love that mentality. Ask for forgiveness, not permission.
But I've never met any of the people from RiNo. I wasn't in support of their mayoral candidate. I've seen how now they're getting involved in politics and things like that. I think that's interesting. The way I see it, man, I'm here. They're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I think that it would be smart for them to work with me because I think they need a creative consultant from within the culture. Because I think a lot of these things that have went wrong with the visual representation down there could have been avoided by providing a more equal platform for different artists. And I know now they're trying to do that, and it's gimmicky. Now they can say, oh, we have more female artists or more Latin artists. But the people that are doing this are not from within the culture, and they don't understand. There's so many artists here right under their nose that don't get the opportunity that they're developing right through their community. I'm not just speaking for myself. There's been many years where I was getting paid and other artists were not. And other artists were getting a crazy amount of money. So I think that a lot of the bullshit and scrutiny that they're getting now could have easily been avoided by smart development and understanding the community that's there.
That's a good answer. It's a really good answer. And so it sounds like we need a little bit of a culture change in the fact of like an actual shock of having in-house culture. And it seems like we've been outsourcing it. You know, we've brought in high-named artists to join in on this crush wall, but it sounds like we need a culture change from the inside. And you're willing to help as best, you know, be an ambassador for the community. So I applaud you for trying that. Do you see that actually being successful? Like, let's be realistic. Do you fucking see that actually happening?
You know what? On their end, smart business would allow for it to happen because you don't have to be so personal and get your feelings hurt. We can approach this professionally and move forward. Have I pissed them off personally where they just don't want to fuck with me? That's probably, you know, and
debatable.
It's yeah, you know, who knows? But I'm not going to say that's not possible because I have had, you know, things happen before where it was this kind of like, yo, let's sit at the table and let's figure out how this works. But I'm not going to overcredit them for not censoring me. That, you know how that sounds to say, oh, he did this, so we won't promote him on any of our platforms. We won't show him on any of the Crush Instagram stuff, or we won't, you know, represent him like we have the other artists. But we let him do what he wanted to do. You're not allowing me to do what I want to do. I would have did it either way. I would have did it. They don't own them walls down there. I'll go down there and paint a wall. It would not be hard to get a wall. You know what I mean? Like get permission or you know, however. So I don't feel like I've had much support from them. For them to say that, to make those sorts of statements, it sounds like they lent me some sort of support, which I never felt that.
I can understand that, you know, like, I mean, obviously there's been a stepping of toes, like them on the community, and then you're just kind of stepping back, letting them know that you're here, like, but you punched them pretty good in the mouth, you know, there was a clear representation of, I guess, caricatures on the side of the wall, and it irked them to the point where I just wasn't sure if there was we can come back from this, we can all work together, because you've worked with the Crush Walls folks, you know the community folks over there that are still in the community, you may not know, or may know, like Ken Wolf and those cats, but it's the other ones. Yeah. You know, like you could team up.
He was my landlord at one point.
Is he the one that raised the rent? And you
10 times on us. He raised our rent 10 times. That's a fact. Yeah, he kicked us out. We had an incredible place. That was messed up. And he was a prick about it the whole way through. But you know what's funny is talking about like prepackaged. You know how everything's just bland. People take those characters that I put in the piece very personal, but they're just archetypes. Like it's just like there's a bunch of you guys like that. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of you fucking guys that look like any one of them characters in there doing the same exact thing. And that's why it makes it so easy for people to not be accountable. You know what I mean? Because they're just going with what everybody else is doing.
Hiding in mass, like they're all like there's multiple people that are just like bleeding communities dry, and so they're like, oh, it's not us, we're not on the mural, so we can kind of get away with it. Where's the next mural going to go up?
I just finished the mural on Colfax and Xavier on Sunday, and the next thing is going to be that big canvas right there. I'm going to do some fine art because I have an art show in Miami next month. And then I'm always painting walls, so I don't know. I'm not sure.
All right, so we kind of talked about what the meat and potatoes of the conversation was going to be. Now I kind of just want to know a little bit more about the process. Like,